Hey guys, Ben Latocki here with some pro advice for pro agents. And today I want to talk about appraisal gaps or appraisal guarantees, okay? You guys have seen these and heard of these out in the market. It's a pretty cool way for you to help your buyer make a really strong offer that says that your buyer will pay more than the home appraises for. Kind of risky, I get it, but some buyers feel that the home is worth that's how much they want to pay, and they want to win the bid, and they're willing to do that, make that type of an offer. So just a couple of things though. There's lots of legal hotline questions on this because there's a lot of confusion over it. So when you're putting this deal together, I want to use, we have some standard language right in our Google Drive, and just search for appraisal gap. But it says buyer to cover any shortfall between sale price and the appraised value of the home up to a certain dollar amount, right? So that dollar amount could be, let's say, $10,000. So what we'll do is we'll use this scenario here where the list price is a $200,000 home. Buyer is willing to pay up to $210,000 and cover a $10,000 appraisal gap. So here's two tips. First thing, we want to make sure that the buyer understands the difference. This is very, very critical. The buyer needs to understand the difference between their down payment money and this gap guarantee, this appraisal guarantee. So this $10,000, let's say the buyer has 10 grand sitting aside for their down payment. You start pitching this, hey, we can pay up to 10 grand more than it appraises for. And the buyer goes, yeah, I've got 10 grand sitting right here. I'll pay 10 grand more than it's appraises for. They don't understand that they have the $10,000 down payment, and now they need another $10,000 to cover this gap. So when it comes to getting the closing numbers around, all of a sudden they need $20,000, and that's where that confusion comes in. They don't have $20,000. I know we probably told them 10 times the difference, but you really need to clarify. They need $20,000 if this deal comes together. They need that, so to explain how much it is combined, so there's no confusion over that, okay? So that's one thing. First thing, make sure they understand that down payment is different than the gap. Next thing is this up to $10,000. So this brings in lots of questions. Let's say the property appraises for $210,000. Does the buyer have to pay 10 grand more than 210? Answer is no. So they don't have to go up to $220,000. That's not what this says. This says that they will cover the difference. If there is no difference, buyer, that's a good thing for the buyer. The buyer just doesn't have to pay that extra money. It appraises for $210,000. They just have their down payment on the $210,000 loan. They don't have to cover any gap coverage. On the flip side, let's say it appraises for $190,000. Okay, the appraisal comes in low, $190,000. Okay, what happens now? Is the buyer obligated to pay $210,000? They're not. They said they'd go up to 10 grand more than appraised value. So $200,000, right? But the other issue is the seller obligated to come down to $200,000? If they accepted an offer at $210,000, maybe there's somebody else out there also offering $210,000. They accepted $210,000. The offer says they'll pay up to 10 grand more. Are they obligated to come down to $200,000? They are not, if you use this standard language, okay? So buyer's not obligated to come out of pocket with more than 10 grand. Seller's not obligated to come down in price. So we have to enter into renegotiations. We have to negotiate what's going to happen in that scenario. Okay, seller could say, I'm sticking to $210,000, figure it out, buyer. Buyer could say, I don't have any more money. Sounds like we have a dead deal. That could happen. Or buyer comes up with the extra 10 grand, and they got 20 grand coverage. Or somewhere in the middle, right? And they keep the deal together. So that's what appraisal guarantees are. It's a creative way to tell the seller that we'll be willing to cover any appraisal issues. And as a listing agent, if you're representing a seller and you're getting these multiple offers coming in, but nobody's really willing to pay more than it appraises for, be leery. You know, I could offer you $1 million for your house that's listed at 200. Without an appraisal guarantee, I'm just going to pay what it appraises for. The appraisal comes in at 200. That's all I'm approved for, Mr. Seller, and you've gone down all this road. So an offer that's crazy high and an offer that's just a little high, if this one's going to say they're going to give $5,000 or $2,000 or $10,000 above appraised value, maybe that's an actual stronger offer than this one over here that's really high but has no gap coverage, because we know it's probably not going to appraise for those amounts, right? So anyways, I hope that helps clear up some confusion on appraisal gaps. Any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Leave me comments, call me, whatever you want to do. If you find yourself trying to negotiate one of these things, please reach out. I'm glad to help. And remember, this standard language is in Google Drive for all of you pro agents to use, and along with escalation clause, non-refundable EMDs, inspection clauses, all right here in Google Drive. All right, thanks guys. Thanks for watching.